Five and okay, we're live. Woo!
Hey!
We did it. What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome to the stream. Daryn?
Welcome to the stream. Now I'm now going to start bogarting your welcome to the stream.
Bogart
Just
it
say
away.
bigger and louder than you.
That is totally fair. I think that.
Welcome to the stream, everybody.
Welcome, everybody.
Hey, hi.
We're gonna
how
talk. We're gonna talk a little bit about. I have some conspiracy theories I wanted to share with you and everybody. There was cool Norman Osborn news that I wanted to talk about. There's
Very
the
cool
finale, which you liked the finale of Falcon and the Winter Soldier more than me.
I know. What a
maybe
surprising turn of events.
I know.
Who saw that
Tell me about
coming?
it. Well, I mean, I saw everything in the finale coming, but I didn't exactly see you liking the finale more than me. That's for
That's
sure.
fair.
So,
That's fair.
let's start there. Let's start there. So, yeah, you liked it more. So,
Yeah, I don't know. I just overall walked away with a super positive feeling about it. And we talked about this a little before we started going live. I do think it's because my expectations for the show are so low at this point that I just had like a few base needs that needed to be met. And they were met. So I was like, I'm good. And like all the other kind of corny stuff was, I mean, the show was not great. And I've already like made my peace with the fact that the show's not great. So I was just expecting good, and I got good. So I was like, wee.
Fair. Totally fair. Totally fair. I should have calibrated properly. I think the thing was for me, I was really holding out hope that like, oh snap, this finale is going to not only be amazing, but it's going to make everything make sense. You know what I mean? And just like set us up in incredible ways. And honestly, I feel as though, and I'm, it's funny because my initial reaction to the show was fully on merit. When I made my reaction video early in the morning, I was just really let down by the merits of what I saw in the frame. Like literally just was like, man, like this just really wasn't it for me. But later on,
meaning
like the action scenes to me were ridiculously bad. Like, and not just a little bit, like a lot. Like there were, like thinking back to the sequences, there were parts that were just so tight on the actors. And I think this was probably done because of reshoots, but it's like you don't get a scope of really anything that's going on. And the main fight between Batroc and Falcon was cut away from so many times that like I didn't get a rhythm of that fight. There's only one moment in it that's at the very end that's cool, and then Sam just flies away. You know what I mean? So I really
like the action. That was the only action part that I didn't really like, only because I didn't really get it in the way of like, I know who he is, introduced in the beginning of the show, but I thought his whole vendetta to kill Falcon was kind of lame. Kind of thin. He's like,
it's super thin. Yeah,
and I was just like, And so like when that was kind of the big bad fight, I was a little. That was the only action scene I wasn't really super interested in, because I was like, if it was like a delay tactic, that's fine, I guess, but make it short and snappy. But you know how the whole time I was saying that I wanted more creative use of the powers when it came to the Flag Smashers? I finally got it. I was excited about that. I was like, they were picking up those parking meters and shit.
That's
and
fair.
Like throwing the stanchions and whatnot and fighting in that underpass, like or not the underpass, that what do you call like a construction thing?
I know what you're saying. It was like a
I was just like, well, that's what I wanted to see the whole series, was them kind of making gritty, untrained use of what they have around them in a really messy, ineffective way, but still effective because they're overpowered. And so when I finally got that, I was like, yeah, this is what I wanted.
That's fair. Kind of that is fair. And I will say that some of Sam's flying and little moments with him, like when the shield like dug into when the wings dug into the ground and he supported. And then even I actually like the whole him lifting up and John helping with the, there were good parts of it. And I would definitely say it's probably the strongest episode for action. But to me, I was just expecting that MCU like blow your hair back moment in the action, and I just never got it. And I was like, wow, that's really just unsatisfying. And again, for me personally, it's just like I could just really see how it was really cut up. You know what I mean? And so for me, that part was let down. But I will say I can see where you're saying. I think again that's probably just my expectations kind of just being like I wanted movie
I think
quality kind of
throughout
stuff.
The season, though, my expectations started getting like lower and lower, though. I think by the 5th episode, or the one right before, how we talked about how the showrunner, was it Spellman who said that like it's going to be the big episode where everybody cries, blah blah blah. And when it wasn't, I was like, okay, this show is not going to reveal the things that we wanted to reveal. The way it's set up, it's just not going to do the big bad stuff that I thought it was going to be. Is it at least going to be an enjoyable experience? Then it was an enjoyable experience. So that's kind of like, I was like, at least it was better than the other episodes. And you know what? It kind of reminded me of that one episode in Madripoor I really liked. And I think it's because coming off the episode before, I was like, oh, this episode is better. And like the finale was like, this is better than the rest of the season. So I was just kind of like, all right, I'll take it.
That's interesting. I mean, I just feel like it's, I don't know. For me, it doesn't work. It feels, for me, it's like bad. You know what I mean? Like it's bad.
Well, it's like a small potatoes. Oh my God, I just spilled all over myself.
You're doing too much LaCroix. You're going wild on that LaCroix.
Wow.
But not to super harp on it or whatever, but I just would say that there were also tonal things where it felt. I'll cover it up with like super chats all night.
It's my sweaty boobs.
Sweaty boobs and LaCroix drip. But I just think that for me, it tonally did some weird things too, where it felt like we had spent 5 hours really slowly bringing to this kind of precipice for Sam, and then we kind of get there really quickly. I've been listening a lot to different podcasts with Malcolm Spellman and interviews with Spellman after in sort of after the show, and I will say, like, the he's awesome, and he did great work on the show. I really do believe that a lot of the problems with the show are not necessarily on him, and it's been interesting to hear him in interviews, and he does seem to tease that there were things that were removed. And first of all, it went from 8 to 6, but he sort of said, he's sort of implying that like the 8 to 6 cut was not necessarily, like he calls it cutting the flab, right? Mm-hmm. And them being one of the first Disney Plus shows and also having, Pandy related issues. It's just interesting that there could have been a lot of stuff that was taken out.
Yeah, it does not seem like he got his way. Like the way he talks about it, it seems like whatever he wanted to do initially did not come to fruition, and he's kind of like made his peace with that and has been told whether to either stop talking shit about it, or maybe he's been given some kind of compensation in the way of like, you didn't get to do what you wanted, but we'll let you do this, with like the comic book run or whatever. So our consolation is probably the better way to say. He's got like a consolation prize for what he wanted to do. And I don't know. Like the show as a whole was just like small potatoes, like it, to me, it felt like a placeholder.
Right.
And I thought it would reveal stuff. It wasn't. But as opposed to like the Flag Smasher storyline, I guess it like tied it up, in a way that did it for the show itself and set up Sam to be Captain America. But the goal overall, like looking back on it, is hard to pinpoint. But as a watchable experience, I liked the pacing of it better. I think that added to it. Like I felt the pacing of the last episode moved a lot better, and therefore made it feel more action heavy in that way.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have a lot of questions. I think I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt a lot. I mean, it's Marvel, you know what I mean? They're an incredible brand. They've done incredible work. But I think that it's just, and kind of getting into some of the more conspiratorial thoughts that I have about this and getting into the Norman Osborn story, it's interesting that in the Norman Osborn story, it literally says that due to a contractual thing that happened like a week ago, that they're going to now change plans or seemingly do a new Norman Osborn that's specific to the MCU. Now, that does not mean that they're injecting this character into Spider-Man 3, but what it does mean is that they are playing some serious jazz right now. And I'm starting to think that all of this could be linked to a general shuffling behind the scenes that may be way crazier than we maybe first heard about. I had a lot of, back in 2019, I had a lot of feelings that what we saw introduced at San Diego Comic-Con was not the original Phase 4, and that he had basically cut off either half or even potentially 2/3 and just worked with the 11 projects with the Disney Plus shows and the movies, and basically was like, this is what we're comfortable talking with. Let's overhype or sort of try to build the hype into the things that we have now.
Yeah.
And then sort of figure out the rest moving forward. One of the other things, just one last thing, I know I'm rambling. One last thing. Spellman said in an interview as well that he's surprised at how many Marvel movies he knows about that are not officially announced out there. And so, like, I'm starting to just, like, get a lot of weird vibes.
Yeah, I mean, either way, both WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier don't feel MCU. They just don't. Like, I feel like it was just Disney Plus doing what they had to do. It's a shame because I feel like given the right resources and stuff, it could have been an amazing experience. But they're like C level shows, like, and that's just it. So
yeah,
it's hard to say because watching the show, I overall left with a good experience because I felt like the pacing was good. I felt like the action we were getting was actually it felt more intentional in a way, like the using of Sam's powers, the using of Bucky's powers individually, the using of the Flag Smasher's powers and like the super soldier stuff. So I was like, at least this episode feels a little more intentional. And that's what I liked about it. But the only thing that kind of sucks about it, but like we talked about this before the stream, it's just a corny show, man. And the corny parts are extra corny. And the subtlety that I like in good storytelling just isn't in this show.
Yeah. Yeah, it's in elements. That's what's weird. It's like there's pockets of greatness in the show. But overall, like, I don't know. It's just... I
think that's what it is, though, for me. Like, overall, it's good. But if you really get granular about it and you really start like digging into the individual pieces of it, it's not good. So that's the problem. And that's why I'm like, overall positive experience. I liked it. It was good. Fine. Whatever. But if we break it down piece by piece, not so good.
Yeah. So now let's talk about okay. So there's a weird theory that I have going on. I've been talking to a couple of different people about it. I've been trying to figure it out because it feels like there could be something big going on that Disney definitely doesn't want people to be talking about. There's just a weird air.
It's now conspiracy hour. Everybody get out your
tinfoil hat and teacups.
Tinfoil hats. Here's the tea.
Yeah,
put on your tinfoil hats.
Yeah. So look, I'm just trying to keep an eye on this, and for now, it's just speculation and a theory. So I'm just going to kind of put it out into the universe, and let's see what happens. You know, this has happened to me before, where I'll be like, "Hey, what if this is going on?"
Hey guys, we're in pretend land right now.
Yeah, we're in pretend land. We're in pretend land.
Let us dance around. In dream space.
I think something to do with talent and leverage that talent has, especially in the post-Pandy world, could be having something to do with why Disney is removing or changing pieces of the content. And I want to bring everybody back to the Ed Brubaker stuff, okay? Now, if you've been following along...
This makes me really upset.
Yeah, so we talked about this...
Triggered.
We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and it was the fact that Ed Brubaker, who has, created just so many of the iconic moments that even you're seeing adapted, some of these great characters, gone deep with them in the comic books. A lot of his stuff is, you could argue being adapted in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and it was weird to hear on the week of the finale that Ed was not only not watching the show, but like when he had a very negative feeling towards it. And he had sort of come forward and talked about how he was not himself getting any kind of check. And he was actually, he all but said he was not destitute, but just not living well. And he was sort of implying that his relationship with Marvel Studios had not been a good one.
Yeah, this feels very Alan Moore. And it and it's really gross. it's just a gross situation to think of someone who so iconically made the Winter Soldier a household name through his own writing is like now when Winter Soldier's taking the front stage in like pop culture and Disney and Marvel's business, like them paychecks, that he's just kind of watching from the audience. That sucks.
It sucks. And, you know, we've talked about different examples before on the channel of like, you know, when Superman went to Broadway, the people that created, I think it was Schulster, he literally could not afford a ticket to see it on Broadway. They didn't bring him to see it. They don't care. And so, okay, so here's the thing. Again, theories, right? But if you look at the patterns of things that are going on in other industries, like what's happening in the music industry right now, as we move into this sort of new digital age, companies are getting super worried about IP, royalties, things that are happening between basically the studios and the creators. I want to talk about one other thing that could be going on here too. Two stories this week that had me kind of interested. Michael B. Jordan sort of throws cold water on being Superman in Warner Brothers' Superman reboot. So I had a great conversation with Al about this. We were sort of speculating on what could be happening. But, you know, even Anthony Mackie started coming out and saying, like, hey, I don't know if I'm going to be in Falcon or Cap 4, or I haven't heard about, you know, Cap 4.
Yeah.
Could we be seeing talent, actors, you know, these people try to negotiate in a new, like a harder way with Disney and with these corporations? And could that be causing changes behind the scene? Because it's always a thing that actors would joke about, where like, oh, I guess they could just kill me off or make me disappear or do all of these things. And I don't know. I'm just getting a really weird vibe with some of the things that are happening right now.
No, it's kind of, we're in speculation town now because obviously we have no idea what's really happening. But if there is one universal truth, it's that artists have been getting fucked over since like the dawn of ages. Like, it's just a fact. Like, you can look at any of Marvel and DC's history. They have not treated their artists and writers well. They just haven't. They really do get the shit on the stick. And Alan Moore, Alan Moore
nice.
was very vocal about that because, like, you know, Alan Moore's such like a, you know, weird loner wizard. He don't give a fuck, you know, he don't give a fuck about money. He doesn't give a fuck about any of that. He just lives in his small town. I forget what it's called in England. And so when DC was giving him the shaft, he's like, yeah, fuck you guys. And when they started making the movies, he's like, no, I do not want to associate my name with a company that's very blatantly fucked over its creators that lend them this content. I don't want to be involved in it. I don't want to be a part of it. And, you know, the music industry, God, they probably get it the worst, actually. Musical artists, yikes. Hard yikes. They really don't get a dime of anything that they do. And
it's weird.
And people have Twitter now. You know, you can look at it in the terms of like Britney Spears, right? With all like Britney Spears documentary and stuff coming out and all that jazz. If Britney had a Twitter back in the day, best believe half the shit that happened to her wouldn't have gone down. And that's what's happening now. There's like a renaissance with being able to speak for yourself and have your own voice. And if these artists aren't happy with their situation, they can just tweet about it. They can do an interview. They can do whatever they want to do. And yeah, they're bound contractually to certain things that if they say whatever, they'll lose their money, they'll lose their rights. But in terms of someone like Ed Brubaker, right, you got to imagine if he's speaking negatively publicly, it's because that's his only option. Right? Like, it's like, as an artist who's getting nothing, he's like, well, let me just say it then. Because that's, maybe they'll get some shit for it from the public and that'll make them do something. So
yeah. And then it's like, you know, I think I put my sort of detective cap on, right? And I think about WandaVision. I think about some of the elements from House of M and how I was really anticipating more of a House of M situation. And you think about things that were cut and things that were changed, and it's like, okay, you know, maybe it's just for the story. But then I look at Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right? Well, you know, there are big time rumors of, you know, Old Man Steve being in the show. Malcolm Spellman all but confirms this in one of the podcasts. Like, he basically said it. As far as I'm concerned, man, that was as close as he could get to saying, yeah, we had Old Man Steve in there, but they cut it. But he can't say it. So why? Well, one of the things that came to mind was that as a comic book fan, I'm sort of expecting that because it was in Nick Spencer's comic books. That's what happened in the comic books, and I think to myself, well, if that was in there and they removed it, and then if the WandaVision did seem more like House of M and they removed it, and then we're hearing that the MCU version of Norman Osborn is going to be super different, like really lean into the political side and the things like that, and this whole multiverse thing. And I'm just starting to think like, man, it would be a shame if storylines and characters and things were being changed, probably from the higher ups, because of potential or even possible legal battles. You know what I mean? And things of that nature.
They're straying away from the comics because they don't even want to deal with the fact that they might have to hire on that person as a consultant. They might have to hire. They're
going to have to pay royalties eventually, just like they did with Bill Finger, Bob Kane, all these motherfuckers. So it's like, and here's what else feels really bad about this, and I don't want to go too far.
Dirty. It's just dirty.
It feels gross. Okay, so literally, look, we're just putting it out there. We don't know what's going on. And of course, this is speculation. It's speculation.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, the other thing that's really messed up, and this is what I'm looking for, this is where my friggin' laser pointer eyes are going, is that Kevin Feige has always talked about the comic books. Kevin Feige has always said that it comes from the comic books. The source material is the comic books. He has always said that, and he has not been shy about it. And if his tone changes, if he stops talking about the comics, if he stops bringing those things up, I'm going to get really worried. Like, I'm going to just frankly get worried. That doesn't seem.
We were kind of talking about it too. We're just like, for me, I've always loved the fact that Kevin Feige was so artist friendly. Like, I love that he talked about the comics. I love that he was so open with his creators in the MCU, and he seemed like it made like an artist friendly studio. And if it goes away from that just due to money or corporate ties, that's going to be the biggest shame in the world, because I don't know. It's pretty dirty. It's pretty gross.
Yeah. It just sounds sad. And it would be. Here's the thing. It would be such a Disney move too. Like, it would be such a Disney move. And you think about okay, so I see people in chat. And I've seen it talked about Skoglund and debunked that there was that the cut storyline was a virus plot. And then Spellman says it had nothing to do with the pandemic. It was dope though. I loved it. I want it to be in a comic book. But it got cut. So you went from 8 episodes to 6. There's a storyline that's so dope you want told in a comic book, but it was ripped out. But it wasn't because of the pandy. Well, why was it ripped out? What storyline are you talking about? Yeah. Maybe it's not the virus plot. Maybe it's Old Man Steve. Why was Old Man Steve pulled out? I'll say this too. I've been hearing some weird stuff about characters coming in the MCU. Okay, like from really legitimate sources and good people that are saying okay. So for instance, there was a rumor that Miss Marvel, the Kamala Khan, that she would be like Mephisto's daughter or something like that. I'll say this. I don't think that's true, but they might be changing her origin in a way that's just as whack to me. And I'm like, what? And it starts again to feel like, okay, so are you just trying to distance yourself from G. Willow Wilson's comics? Like, what's going on here? Like, what? I hope that's not what's happening, because first of all, that's gonna make things super fucking weird going forward. Like, that would be so weird if that was the real legit thing.
For the first time ever, it really kind of does feel like the MCU is floundering. And if that has to do with the pandemic, sure, fine. But we talked about this in all the other streams leading up to the finale of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that we're like, nothing is happening, right? It's like they keep teasing things, but it's so vague and it's so abstract that you're just like, what is actually going on? Like, the post-credit scenes in MCU movies used to actually say something. Like, they were vague, but you knew exactly what was coming next. It was like a teaser where it was like, hold on to your hats, friends. This is what's coming up in the next movie. Now it's like, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Who are they? What's going on? You're like, just tell me something that's going to happen in the future, please. Like, it's just it's too vague. It feels like they don't know what's going on and what they're doing anymore, especially if Mark Spellman says they have all these movies that they haven't announced. They haven't figured out the order of it. I mean, what, like in the post-credits scene with Sharon, right? It's like, if she's a Skrull or whatever, just say it. Say she's a Skrull. It would have been a way better end credit scene if it was revealed that she was a Skrull. So you at least know, okay, Skrulls.
Yeah, it feels like
like just scrolls.
That was so weird because it's basically more about the person she's on the phone with. But I'm so sick of that dude. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, no. I'm not going to jump through rabbit hole hoops in my imagination to fucking figure out who the person on the phone is to get hyped out about Sharon. Like, that's just...
Yeah. And then to be fair, though, we talked about that. I do like it when Emily Van Camp is evil. I like her way better now. Sharon is so boring. Sorry. But, like, now in this show, I was finally like, I like Sharon now. I like sassy, evil, sexy Sharon. Because Emily Van Camp, I think she does just do better when she's in an evil role. She just plays it better, like the good, wholesome girl. It well, like, for sure. Get out of here. You're boring. And so I was very excited to see her go dark side. But... yeah, I mean, coming with the cameo from Val, right? Like, in what world am I supposed to like know and care about this person? Right. Like, even if you know her from the comics, like through and through your bones, it's like, how is that a reveal? She's such be like a side plot character in the comics that to just have her like walk down a hallway and be like, I'm Val. I'm like, that's not it, guys.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest. Like, you want to talk about fluff? You know what I mean? Like, you want to talk about fluff? Like, there's a lot of fluff I'm seeing in the show that doesn't make sense. Like, Val doesn't need to be in there at all. Like, maybe he could. Oh man. Like, again, here's the other part of this, right? So it's Val.
Yeah.
What about Thunderbolt Ross? Okay, is Thunderbolt Ross not in there because they don't want to copy the Thunderbolt comic books and that they need to differentiate their Thunderbolts?
Yeah, so they're like, she's going to be leading the Thunderbolts or she's going to be the Hydra person, and they just picked like the biggest, like the most C-level character ever to just fill the role, the archetype that they want and know needs to exist. But they're like, it's going to be Val though, so just like, and maybe, maybe it will be awesome. I don't know. They have done that before, but the way they revealed it was real dumb. Like the way, like the way she was like walking down the hallway in the courtroom. I was like, ooh, is this going to be She-Hulk? Like lawyer coming in? And then it was just Val. And I was like, okay. And then it felt like all it did was like reveal the U.S. agent name. And I was like,
yeah.
We knew that already though.
Right.
But we knew that, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel like there's a lot missing there. And I guess like I want an explanation. And we were talking about this beforehand. It's like, okay, so look, this is conspiracy and we are just kind of way out in left field. But at the same time, like, what have they said to us? What have they given us? They've just basically been like, aren't you enjoying your regular Marvel? And I'm sorry, like, I'm just like, nah. Like, this doesn't feel like my regular Marvel.
Aren't you excited for the upcoming movies? I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know what's going to be in those movies.
Dude,
I'm not excited. Yeah. It's not Thanos to the side, like turning to the side and being like, I'm coming. You know what I mean? Where you're just like, oh my God, Infinity War. My fucking God, Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity Wars. Like, that was just such a drop that you're like, it's fucking coming. You know what I mean? Or it's like, or what in the first Iron Man post-credit scene, Samuel L. Jackson being Nick Fury, where you're like, oh my God, Avengers. Like, you just know from the end credit scene, you're like, Avengers. Like, you can just tell us. Just tell us. Please tell us.
Yeah, for sure. It's just a weird vibe. It's a weird place to be in. I will say though, like, a lot of the news has still got me really hyped, and I think I said in the Nerdy News Rundown today that I actually got to see, Darren. I got to see some actual images from Spider-Man No Way Home today, allegedly for legal or whatever. But holy crap. They're looking good, and there's some it's real. Like Norman and Doc Ock, that whole thing about
the Norman news
it's wild.
That will make up for all the things that have gone wrong on Disney Plus if Norman Osborn. And you know what? I did like the way that they even like the League was like presented in the way where it's like it's going to be a slow burn, which I think is perfect for his character. Like, because the Norman Osborn that we all we all know and love has his like hands so many different pots, so many different cookie jars. And while he does play a big role in a lot of major storylines, I think the biggest part is that he's always just like, there. He's just there hanging out, scheming, manipulating, doing shit. And so the introduction of a slow burn of someone who's just always there, love to see it, need to see it.
Yeah, so let me sort of TLDR. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, essentially this came from the hashtag show. They are saying that, Willem Dafoe. So this is what's crazy about this story. They say that Willem Dafoe may or may not have been attempted or tried to potentially be the Norman Osborn for the MCU. But now that it's changing and they're going to go with 2 Norman Osborns. But I have heard that this was sort of already, like they had this as an option, but it looks like this is the way they went, so that Willem and, from what I understand, Willem and Alfred Molina are probably just one-shots for the MCU in No Way Home. They could maybe do Sony stuff after this, but they're not going to hang in the MCU. The rumor is after this film, Peter is going to start to seek out the Norman Osborn from our universe, and he's going to discover that our version of Norman Osborn is not evil. He's been giving money to the Avengers. Yeah. He has political aspirations, so they're going to lean more into him being like a kind of good dude, a charitable, good Samaritan Norman Osborn.
Which he is.
Well, the thing that's interesting is
he is though.
Sort of in Siege. This is what was interesting is he has a full turn though, because it's after his Green Goblin stuff and he goes through rehab
amnesia, right?
Well, he gets like government help and stuff too though. So like he actually, as a part of his rehabilitation, is like working with the Thunderbolts and working with the government. So he sort of has a full arc, and the world embraces him because he kills the Skrull Queen, and yeah, there's a moment in Siege where they do a great job of you thinking, holy crap, do I love Norman now? Like, is Norman better than Tony? Is really like the thing,
Well, to me, that's like what I mean. It's like the politician, right? The politician knows how to look good for the public, right? And like that's him killing the Skrull Queen on camera, right? He's like, look at me, guys. I did it. Like, you're welcome. Yeah. You should make me, the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D. now. And that's... I think that would be a really smart and fun way to present him, like as the good guy at first, because like he is playing a lot of different faces to a lot of different people, whatever suits him at the time. And so, and he's always just kind of like crazy, like changing his mind. So like, it'd be great to be like him a good guy. And then he's like, I've changed my mind.
Well, I'd love to do the 3 to 5 year turn on him and have him, really do the Dark Avengers stuff, but it seems like they're going a weird way with Dark Avengers. And if Norman Osborn, if an alternate Earth, alternate reality Norman Osborn is really a big crux of what's going wrong in Spider-Man 3, then like I'm really starting to think that they might do an alternate version of Tony Stark and an alternate version of Cap that are going to end up being like a big problem. I had always thought, well, who could the Avengers possibly fight next that would be like dope? Mm-hmm. And really, it should be a multiverse version of the Avengers. They should fight like themselves, but like a ruthless, like basically a version of the Avengers that now exists because of Endgame. Like they did Endgame, and now they have caused a different thing happening where a version of the Avengers are like just made to be darker, made to be vicious, made to come out and like challenge them and do something crazy and maybe want to enact revenge. You know what I mean?
I mean, they kind of touch on that in like a Star Trek The Next Generation episode. They went into this like time warp once where they were like, they just came face to face with like all the versions of the Enterprise. And then there was this one version that was like, it sucks here. Fuck you guys. Ooh, like we're coming to you and we're like getting in there.
Well, what's interesting? Feige is a huge Star Trek fan, and he did pull some elements from a famous episode of Star Trek even for moments in Endgame.
Yeah, so I would love it if like there was just like another universe that's like, this is your fault, you motherfuckers. And there's literally nothing you could say or do that would make it better, because regardless of how noble it was, the fact that their entire world has gone to shit because of the events of Endgame is just, that's it. Doesn't matter. And so if they had to fight them, love to see it. I do love the multiverse idea, especially in terms of like the Toby and Andrew stuff. If it's just like popping in, here and there. So just a sprinkle, of other Spider-Mans.
Yeah. I think that they will be. I don't know. It's funny. They'll be probably a bigger part of the second and third act of the film.
Yeah.
But I don't expect them to. I mean, it's still going to be Peter's movie. Like, I think from what I've been understanding, like, the driving force of the film is Peter dealing with all of this crazy shit. And it's like, you think Peter's already dealt with, like, enough. But, like, he's trying to win his innocence while the unthinkable is happening. Like, not just his villains, but spider villains from other universes, like a rogues gallery that wants to kill him that doesn't even know him. Do you know what I mean?
That's kind of like perfect for Spider-Man, though.
Yeah, it's perfect
because he's the best. He's the best of them. I mean, I think Captain America said that in the Civil War comics? Like, he is better than all of us. So fuck you, Tony, for corrupting his sweet, precious soul. Actually, that's why I think my favorite part of the entire Civil War comics when him and Iron Man meet in that weird house. Is it the Avengers? I can't even remember. But he's basically like, fuck you for stepping in and being his father figure when you know he wants that more than anything in this world. And corrupting his sweet, innocent mind. But if anyone can stand up to a barrage of unhappy multiverse people, it's Spider-Man, because his soul is pure. At the end of the day, he'll do whatever it takes. His soul is pure. So I love that. I love that for a multiverse storyline. I think it's...
You know who wrote the Civil War in the comics?
Who?
Ed Brubaker.
Oh, fuck. Ouch. Ouch. Oh, my heart. I hate it.
I think he wrote that exact scene you're talking about between
Iron Man and Sony. That was like the scene in the comics that I was like, hell yeah. Like, I'm in. Where they just like, it's literally just them hashing it out for an entire comic. And it's like chef's kiss. I love it. Because it's such a standstill. Like, the whole thing is just, they're both right at every turn and both wrong. And it's just, Ed Brubaker, bro.
It's rough, dude.
Where is your money? This makes me so upset. Disney, you have money. Like, bitch, please. Like, you can't even just, like, throw a crumb, like, to Ed Brubaker. Because it's like, it's that tone, right? That tone between Captain America and Iron Man and Civil War that probably laid the groundwork for the entire creative inspiration of the MCU. Like,
I know, yeah.
Because, I hate it, Josh.
It's not good. It's not a good look.
I don't like it.
And again, like I want to just keep an eye on it and see. But like, if it's a thing, like, it's fuck them all day. Like, it's not even gonna be hard for me to be like, oh well, okay, we're gonna have to pivot here. You know what I mean? Because like, look, I'm still gonna enjoy the content. I love the content, but it's gonna have to be. We would have to continue to talk about that issue if it was an issue. You know what I mean? If this is something that's really happening and are brewing behind the scenes and will be brought to a head more or less relatively soon. I mean, that's going to be weird. It sounds
like a Taylor Swift Spotify moment where they just like,
that is what I think could happen. And that's the thing is like, that could potentially be why they're changing it, where they're like, oh, they're going to get that Spotify moment. So change the shit because we're not paying all these royalties.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm sure if it comes down to it where they do get their Taylor Swift Spotify moment, it'll be money. Like, it'll cost them money, which is like terrifying for, their deep pockets, but for the person who created it, it's like, come on, bro. Like, and that's the weird. It's it's something that I feel like is going to be the future of our generation in general. Like, I feel like once the all the boomers die off and they stop making us fight about things like race and gender equality and homosexuality and all that stuff, once like the boomers go away and we stop having to fight with them about that, the new conversations are going to be about like IP, technology, shared information, and like how the fuck we're going to compensate and restructure our entire economy to compensate for that. Our economy, for the way the world works now, doesn't serve it. It's completely inefficient.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because like I have a slightly different take on it because I do think that there's definitely some boomers that just need to kind of exit some of these conversations. But I would tell you that again, it's a speculation, but I would say that there is a measure of deflection that happens from corporations that they'd prefer to be talking about some of those issues that you explained than the actual inequality that even they are perpetuating. So like there's some of that isn't necessarily boomers, it's corporations wanting us to hate each other while Ed Brubaker is not getting paid. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, to maintain the status quo, right? If you present a bigger issue, you can kind of keep things the way they are, or maybe solve another smaller topical issue that doesn't really figure out the root cause that is causing all of these problems. Because that's, what I mean, right? It's like the way that we value and the way that we interpret the buying and selling right now does not reflect the actual content and things that are being created with the technology that we have at our disposal. Like the value added tax, right? That they kind of started in Europe, right? That we don't have here, that puts value on like Amazon transactions and ads and stuff like that. That is part of the things that we need to be focusing on.
Well, it's so funny that you say, look, we might have to pivot because we might go down a political road, but I'll just say,
we're just like, NPR, welcome to our
right, welcome to NPR. Well, I'll just say this though, it's funny you say that because I actually I like the value added tax. I don't like some of the things that Biden's doing instead of the value added tax. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think there's dumb tax things being done because frankly, they don't actually want to go after the rich people. They want to go after the poor rich people. And I know that might not make sense to some of you, but it's like, dude, that tax you're talking about would add a ton of revenue and only hurt the smallest of small amount of people. But some of the taxes that are being proposed right now will hurt a lot.
Yeah, it's the dumbest thing in the world.
Poor rich people, like people that are just getting wealthy. Which, frankly, if you want things to change, you want new wealthy people. That's what look, we don't have to keep. I need to pivot here, but I totally agree with you that
anyone who wants to look into this, just Google why raising the minimum wage isn't the catch-all answer, right? It's make the corporations who don't pay taxes pay taxes, and you're not going to do that by raising income tax. Hello, you need to change the way taxes are actually taxed.
Correct. And moving right along.
And thank you for coming to our TED Talk. We'll now get back into nerdy stuff.
Yes. Well, let's pivot into Invincible because there's an angle here that can sort of
fun time. Should we raise the energy up stream?
Yeah, we'll raise it back. But it actually does have it does have a thread to something we were talking about though, because Robert Kirkman. I always go back. I don't know if anybody. In fact, let us know in the chat. I want to know if y'all remember this. This was a big deal. I want to say in like 2007, 2008, and 2009, there was major beef between Brian Michael Bendis and 2009 with Brian Michael Bendis and Robert Kirkman. How many of you guys remember that there was a major beef between Robert Kirkman and Brian Michael Bendis? Anybody remember this?
What Bendis be up to?
Yeah, well, it's very interesting, and it'll tie into what we're talking about with Marvel. I don't know if anybody remembers. We might be on a slight delay, so we might have to wait for them to. Coachella Coastal does, of course. This one of the smartest human beings on the planet. I am convinced, Coachella Coastal. Okay, so let's talk about this. The whole beef was that Kirkman had made a pretty strong statement about how up-and-coming comic book artists shouldn't go work for the House of Ideas. They shouldn't go work for Marvel. They should self-publish. They should do indie stuff. They should own the rights to all their shit. And the reason this was such a big deal is because Robert had walked away from Marvel to form Image with a lot of those Image guys.
I know this story. Okay, so, the Image Comics.
Yeah.
Origin story.
Yeah, so basically,
good for them.
Of
They're
course,
killing it.
They killed it, and Robert, of course, made The Walking Dead. Had 7 planes at the time. Now, what
Saga, biggest comic.
Amazing, right? But what Bendis's point to Robert was, he said, Robert, you breathe rarefied air. You're 1 in a million type talent. You shouldn't be telling young artists that they should not be going into Marvel because ultimately, I disagree. It was a very interesting fundamental
fair.
disagreement that
Also
they had.
Kind of fair.
Yeah, totally. And I actually saw both sides of it. But I'll say this. I think a decade later, Kirkman has been proven historically correct, because I don't know any up-and-coming young writer at Marvel that's getting any kind of traction from their Marvel shit. It's all their indie shit that has been popping or that's been going for them. And when we talk about Invincible, what is Invincible? It's Robert Kirkman with full control and the juice, the royalties, everything going to him and creative. You look at Mark Millar and all the Millar stuff. It all goes to the creative, to the people that he pays. It's not this weird corporate thing, which has stifled comic books for the past 20 years, because nobody wants to create a new character at Marvel, because then Marvel owns it. And even if they take your shit and make it insanely popular in the movies, you won't see a dime. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
And it's like historically been proven over and over again. I don't know how many artists have to like go vocal about it, but it is true. Because I mean, I go to Image Comics for that new cool shit. Yeah. You know, like, and weird stuff, you know, because it's like Paper Girls. It's like, I think
Paper Girls is dope, dude.
Brian K. Vaughan is such a weird concept, right? Mm-hmm, Can you imagine pitching that at like Marvel or DC, and they're like,
it's like Lost Boys meets Mean Girls, kind of.
It's so bizarre. It's about time. Like, it's about weird time consequences of time traveling and stuff. If you haven't read Paper Girls, please read it. It's a rip-roaring good time. It's really cool. So good. But yeah, I love the idea of someone like Brian K. Vaughan, who is also prolific. And, you know, maybe that is what Brian Michael Bendis was saying. It's like, if you are not a prolific writer, you know, maybe that's not the best avenue for you. But at the same time, just being able to put it out there, right, and see where it goes and let it stretch its legs and have a full moment, because like, would that really happen in Marvel? Because like the way that Marvel operates and DC operates is that it's like, if it's not making money, get the fuck out of town.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of weirdness there, and I think the thing for me is that, like, I love the Marvel brand and I love these characters, and I love having nerdy fun, and it's been good to me too, you know. But it's like, at some point, like, I don't know, I feel like these companies need to just do better and embrace that, like, the world's changing. You know what I mean? And I think that if you should get ahead of that, not try to. You shouldn't be, again, conspiratorial, right? But you shouldn't be changing things to have a cost-benefit analysis sheet figured out for investors and potential damages and potential liabilities or whatever. Like, that is fucked up, dude. That is the opposite of creative control. That's the opposite of...
Or maybe just stay in your lane, right? It's like, I would like to see the end of Monopolies. That'd be super chill, right? It's like, Marvel is the big bad with the big universe and all these characters, and it's like, and if a writer wants to come in and they're like, hey dude, I have a great Captain America idea, they write for Captain America, good, boom, go, let it run. And it's like, and if someone is a big writer and they want to create a new character in Marvel and they like don't really give a fuck about not having the rights, they can create it there and it'll be this huge thing. But there should be also room for things like Image Comics to exist. Like, I think they should both exist and both be strong and both have their purposes within the media, and not just have these huge fucking monopoly conglomerates just come around and like stomp and shit on everybody.
Well, I would say that that's probably why, because I think that just everything that I'm seeing with the digital economy moving forward, it's like a forced democratization. I mean, if you look at like crypto and NFTs and different things like that, it's going to flatten things. It's going to give built-in royalties in a smart contract that, like, no, I'm sorry, big fancy corporation lawyer. No. You don't change it. It's source code, open source. Yeah. The contract is written. Every transaction is verifiable. The royalties flow to me. You know what I mean? And like, if I were a corporation, I would be frankly terrified right now. You know what I mean? I'd be like, holy shit, like, we need to fucking figure this out. So I guess I'm saying is like, from the PR perspective, the brands need to embrace actually empowering the artist and creating a more copacetic business relationship between talent and distribution and corporation. That's just it. You know what I mean? That's just plain.
Yeah, well, I think these corporations still live in this mindset that they're completely infallible, right? And that the old economy will prop them up for perpetuity. But it's like all they have to do is just look around and realize that that is the stupidest mentality of all time. Just look at what like YouTube did to television. Like wake the fuck up, bro. Like you are going to be pushed out if you do not like, you know, pivot and adjust to meet the speeding through of the new times, because it's happening. And like there's way too much content, there's way too much access now for things like old money to like mean shit. Like,
yeah,
sorry.
I agree. It's a weird world that we're living in. It's at the very least it's interesting to have these kind of conversations, you know what I mean? So let us Oh
yeah, we never talked about Invincible though. We just talked about.
Well, yeah, let's talk. Yeah, do you want to give your take as I pull up the super chats and we'll start going on that?
Yeah, dude. I mean, thank God for Invincible right now. And if we're gonna talk about just, which is really sad because I feel like these are the conversations and the opinions I used to have about the MCU that I'm not having right now. And maybe it's because I just have released no content really in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe this is just a sign of the times of their business. But like when you really let creative control fly, magic happens, dude. Yep. And this show is magic. Like that last episode was so weird and wild and intense. Like the whole robot storyline like just tickled me so hard because it was so fucked up and like so fucking weird that I was
weirdly enduring, but also like just it's good. It's
it was
good because
such a mind fuck. You know, it's like he made himself a child so he could like fuck this other child essentially.
Dude, exactly. And the best part of that whole scene is
they're not children. It's
right. Well, it's how the dude responds to it. That he
oh my god!
To. Right? Oh man, it's perfect. He's like, "No, we're gonna talk about this shit right now." It's like, my god,
that is so fucking weird. And he's like, "Well, I cloned you because I realized that she found you interesting." Right. He's like, "I don't even know how to respond to that because that is so fucking weird." I don't even have a reaction to this little girl finds me attractive.
Not making it better. I actually rewatched that episode today just for pleasure.
Yeah.
I friggin' love it,
dude. It's so good. Like,
and then you find out that a mortal man was Abe Lincoln. That shit's dope. And then 2 minutes later, he gets cut in half again. That's just amazing, dude. It's like the show's so good. It's so good. It's so bold. It's so fun. It's everything. It's a lot of what I think I'm missing from the Marvel shows, you know, which is crazy. And a dang dare shame.
I was just like, when they first started alluding to Robot having a thing for Monster Girl, I'm like, does he like love her? Like in a romantic way? Because if so, that is so fucking complex and weird. How the fuck are they gonna handle that? And putting himself in a child body to also be an adult in a child's body to be able to be with her was not what I thought was gonna happen. I was just like, this show, just chef's kiss.
Yeah, it's so fun, dude. It's so fun. So
and just can't wait for all the Mark and Omni-Man and
man, we need to talk. You know what I mean? Like, what a crazy ending. We need to talk. Holy shit.
And also, even in like the really like light casual relationship stuff, that so well. Like you think like the cheap high school romance storylines would be the dumb part, or not? Yeah, they're just as fun and just as meaningful. Like even with his best friend being like, "Did you really think your grand romantic gesture was going to mean shit?" Like, lol, like you're dumb. And then Eve being like, "You didn't notice a month ago, like when she dumped your ass." Like, bro.
It's interesting because it's all just good character stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like I find that even if I'm not relating to a character, I'm not taken out of it because they feel authentic. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm, you know, what I feel whatever about that, but I'm not taken out of it. It feels natural. Like his best friend is sometimes weird to me, but he is consistent. He's consistent as a character, and so it's like, oh, but that is who he is, and it just kind of makes sense. But yeah, what a fantastic freaking show, and can't wait for this week's episode. It's going to be pretty much awesome. But let's get into these supers.
So hard when he was just like, "I'm invincible," and she's like, "Yeah, I know, idiot."
Yeah, no, it was, that part was pretty good.
And then his best friend was like, I don't feel bad for you. He was like, you were a dick.
Yeah. No, it's funny because it made me like not hate her character, because I was kind of feeling like she was dumb. You know what I mean?
Well, no, they did set us up to feel bad for Mark and think that and want her to give him a break. And in a drop of the hat, everything that they were setting us up to feel was switched. Yep. In the way where like every single person in his life was not on his side, because you're like, oh, Mark, like which I feel bad for him.
Right, which could have something to do with his father perhaps trying to drive that wedge between him and humanity. You know what I mean? Which is pretty interesting. Yeah. So Stevie said, whoa, okay, let's go with Mr. Anderson first in with the $50 holla. Says the Simps in with the and then Stevie says with the $100 donation, upscales Mr. Anderson and says this boomer needs his beauty sleep. So here's my weekly simpin'. Catch you guys on the replay. Damn, Stevie.
Oh, we're talking about simping in my Discord chat.
Well, damn, they came in hot because Nathan after that comes in with a 50 and says, hey, Daryn and Josh. So, Josh, guess who got a 1911 tactical? Whoa, nice. And Stormtrooper tactical gunshot.
Guns again.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back one day.
Frank Castle nerd status. Let's go. Shooting my first USPSA competition Sunday. That's awesome, man. Simpin' as usual, Lady Daryn. And hi from Abby. So Abby is, I believe, either girlfriend or wife to Mr. Nathan Tattoos. She was in the chat like maybe it was a couple of nights ago. She was chatting in saying like Nathan's gone, but I'm here watching, and like
I was watching that stream.
Yeah, it was like a morning stream. Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
I'm a fan.
I'm a fan. What's up, Nathan and Abby? Mr. Anderson says for the $150 super chat.
Mr. Anderson.
God damn, says Big Stevie, you can't double simp a triple simp. Oh my god, I don't know what's happening.
He is my number one simp lord.
He is definitely.
I told everyone I was like assembling a legion of simp lords, but he is definitely.
Yeah, dude, it's like Westeros. Yeah, it's like Westeros. He's like the.
I said all simps are welcome, and indeed. That it's simpin' made simple over here.
It's simpin' made simple. I like that actually. I might put that on a shirt. That seems cool. Mike Mother Flippin' Porter says, just want to look cheap in a sea of big super chats. Nice, dude. Brian Smith with a 99. Brian Smith comes with a 99. No message. I didn't see it. Moss with a 9.99 says, I just want to know what your lip gloss is. Buy more.
Ooh. This is Fenty lip gloss. I'll put some more on.
There you
fans
go.
All oblige. Oh,
they demand it. I think. How do we know he was talking about my lip gloss though?
Josh, share your secrets. Well, you weren't putting on the bright light today.
I know.
Like I said, you should.
I know. I screwed
Everyone
up.
Complimented it last time. Where's your beauty lights, bro? Don't you want to look beautiful for the crowd?
I do, but I'm also super lazy. All right, James Matumbo says, with $100, I believe, rupees, I wonder what will happen to the Sony Marvel Universe as it is going to Disney Plus. Yeah, so that's an interesting question, James. I would say that I think it's depending on how real that Norman story is, you know what I mean? Because again, sometimes it's just a report, right? Sometimes people get very excited about scoops. I can imagine getting that big exclusive. He's very excited. Maybe it's not as deep as he thought. Maybe like Disney and Sony are actually super comfortable with Norman going and doing Sony stuff, and that was maybe always on the table. But it is interesting that the catalyst for an MCU Norman, which is something that Feige has wanted for a long time, seems to be connected with the Disney Plus deal, which is something I had speculated for over a year. I said, where are the chips for Disney here? You know what I mean? Like, I just didn't understand it. Well, this type of a deal and bringing stuff onto Disney Plus and perhaps giving them a piece of that action, yeah, that is a big deal.
I would assume that the way that Kevin Feige negotiates is like in characters, right? Because it's like he's got a vision, he's got an idea of the story he wants to tell, the direction of the universe, and he knows that there are certain characters that are integral to making that happen. And if that means giving Sony a little bit of this, a little bit of that, sliding you a little bit of this money, so like just give me fucking Norman Osborn,
dude, for real,
you fucks.
To that point, though, I mean, this is what's so interesting about that, because some people might say like, but Feige's not at that table, but like, dude, I agree with your point, because even if he's
there's no way he's like, even if he's not at the table, there's no way nobody at that table knows what the fuck he wants. Like,
bro, it's because of Kevin Feige that Sony basically was like, well, by all contracts and rights, we're taking Spider-Man back, and the whole internet was like, the fuck you are. that's because of Feige.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So of course it has to do with Feige. Like, of course his ability to generate revenue with these characters is a huge part of it. It's a huge part of what's going on. So yeah, I agree with you, and I think it's dope.
And it's just like I have confidence in the fact that he knows how to negotiate and placating them money-wise, whether it's like Disney Plus, whether it's royalties, whatever, if it means they can have certain rights to a story that in longevity will earn them like more money and theater sales and whatever merch sales than all that shit ever will. He's like, guys,
like,
it's
please.
one name, but it means more. If it means that we can tell this specific story that people are like itching for, come on.
Yep, I agree. I 100% agree, and I think he has high hopes for what he can do with him, potentially in the multiverse.
Save us, Kevin Feige. So. Where are you? What's going on?
What is
Talk
happening?
to us,
Kevin,
please.
are you okay?
Let us know.
I need him to
I need
come
a press
out.
Conference.
Yeah, he needs to come out and blink twice and say that he still loves Marvel Comics and that he's still adopting them. Just come out and say it, Kev. Make me feel
just
better.
Be like, hey guys, it's like a YouTube apology video. Hey guys, it's been a really rough year, and I'm just gonna like speak my truth. I just need him to speak his truth and tell us that everything's going to be okay, and that even though the pandy threw him for a loop, that they got plans, bro.
Yeah,
and that it's all going to be like. I think it would do so much for the MCU in general if Kevin Feige was like, "Hey, bro, things have not gone the way that we wanted them to, but they're still on track. Hold tight."
Well, it's because it seems like almost all the creatives, like they sort of are talking a little bit about it. Like, they're almost like hinting at it. I remember the showrunners literally saying, like, if you feel like there's things missing, like they are. It's like, what? Like, from one.
You're correct.
Like, it's like, okay, and then like Malcolm's, Spellman's like, I can't talk about that. They don't like me to talk about that storyline, but it was dope. It's like, okay. But Colt here says with a $5 holler, yo, did you see that Skoglund debunked the reshoots and pandemic plot in an interview with Collider? Wow. Yeah, and so again, that's so interesting to me that it seems again, and like Collider is a Hollywood trade. Let's just say what it is. And so for Collider to be reporting and sort of essentially perpetuating the idea that there was no reshoots or pandemic reshoots,
If Spellman is saying some shit, it makes it really hard to believe that.
It just makes it hard.
And it's like maybe there wasn't reshoots in some capacity, right? And maybe there wasn't supposed to be specifically a pandemic storyline, but that doesn't mean that things weren't cut and things weren't changed, so.
Correct. Yeah, it's just interesting. But again, like, I will acknowledge that is their official stance. Do you know what I mean? But like to me, like I mean, do you realize what a kind of a company Disney is? Like, I'm not trying to besmirch them unfairly, but like they've always tried to take the high ground despite doing horrible things. Like, not all the time.
Has Disney ever apologized for it?
No, I don't think so. Like, straight up.
I'm like trying to think in like recent memory. I'm like, have they ever apologized for like or been like open about like anything? They don't play that game, bro. They don't have to.
They don't. Even their apologies are like, even their seeming apologies by trying to make new content or trying to be more representation or whatever, even like these things, they ring sort of hollow to me and not I have never seen something come from Disney.
What did they say specifically when they hired back on
James? So
or did they just say he's hired? Period.
No. It was a weird one. If I remember correctly, the statement was something like it was an unprecedented thing, but upon further investigation, we understand that like James holds the Disney blah 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 bullshit, in high regard or something to that effect,
So like not
an apology,
no.
Well, I mean, he left and did
so what
Suicide
do we
Squad, and now
guys?
So like what? I don't know.
Do you think they're gonna really say honestly if things didn't go well? They're Disney. I mean, come on, just go to Disneyland.
But this is what sucks. Is it's like, but Marvel Studios is dope. Like it's like I want to praise Marvel Studios because everything I have ever heard of them before was like, it's a family. It's great. They do try to, like, they did renegotiate with those actors and try to get them properly compensated afterwards. Downey was a big part of that. But it feels like Marvel Studios, Feige, and all of them are constantly trying to get the big bad Papa Disney to like do the right thing. And it's like, well, what if for now that's not happening? What if in this moment we're seeing some real...
Yeah, but when it comes to negative shit, they've honestly never... Like, who's the guy who did Thor Dark World? Alan...
Oh, yeah. The original one or the...
Yeah. No, the Thor 1 and 2. His name's Alan.
Oh, Kevin Branagh did number 1.
The second guy, then. The one who also did Game of Thrones.
Yes. Sapochnich or whatever.
Yeah, whatever his name. It's like, even he, way back then, when talking about why he split with Marvel, it didn't really seem... like amicable, but the way it was presented was like
super okay.
I don't know, like maybe like I didn't do what I wanted to do. Like he was saying too that he had a specific vision. One of the things I know that he talked about is that he didn't want to do all that exposition shit, and that like basically they forced his hand, and he was pretty pissed about it. And because of that, he wasn't happy with their relationship. But even the way he talked about it was very like, I don't know. I just like maybe thought that like I kind of wanted to do something, and then maybe, but I love that. Like it was just weird.
Yeah, it's like walking that line where it's like, well, Disney is literally the mafia, so you're going to not say the truth.
Cue South Park episode with the Jonas Brothers.
Yeah, exactly. No, for real. It's like it's a little wild what they're doing out here. So I don't know. The times are changing, though. Abigail says for the $5, you guys know my boyfriend Nathan tattoos, but I'm excited to finally be showing some love. Longtime fan, I watch every stream. Go, Lady Avengers.
Yeah, Lady Avenger. Take your identity. Make your own name, Abby.
Exactly. There you go. That's a fair point. Jacob says with a $10 holla, hi, guys. Today is my birthday. Yo, happy birthday, Jacob.
Happy birthday.
This is the first YouTube community I have joined, and I love it. All my friends are normies, so this is the only place that I can talk nerdy stuff. Take my money!
Hey, same, bro. Literally same. So, love to see it. Oh, I stole this from my friend's brother. It's called Your Birthday Song. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
This is your birthday song. It isn't very long. That's it. Happy birthday.
That was very nice. That was like a dad joke birthday song, which means I loved it. Happy birthday, Jacob. For real, my friend. Keeman Thomas says, please force Daryn to watch last 4 Clone Wars episodes finale before Bad Batch.
You know what I've been reading like the last week, because I'm reading 2 books like right now, like a crazy person. I'm reading the Mistborn series, and I'm also reading the Darth Bane series, which is
Darth Bane's great.
Really good.
Yeah,
I'm really into it. So that's what I'm doing right now. So I'll watch the Clone Wars too. Yeah. I get time. So busy.
I know, yeah.
Because I have the audiobook for Darth Bane, so I can like listen to it when I'm like walking and working and cleaning. So
yeah, I love those. I like them on a long car ride. If I have to take like a road trip, I love a good audiobook. And the Star Wars ones are great. And you know,
want to be Githany.
Yeah, they're yeah, but the 4 Clone Wars he's talking about, those last 4 episodes are pretty freaking crazy. And they're not too long either.
I'm going to do it this weekend.
Check it out. And let me know, and we'll talk about it on the streams and whatnot. Mike says, thanks for all the love yesterday from all the Nerdventure community. You all were and are amazing. Best community on YouTube. Yes. And Mike, well wishes. I it's a medical thing with someone close to Mike. I believe his niece. Yeah. So just sending some love. Yeah, it's rough.
Sending love and light your way, my friend.
Indeed. Nathan Tattoo says, just freaking love your counterplay, guys. No fluff, just real opinions and sweaty goodness. Thanks for keeping it real for us, too. Go Doge. Yeah, Doge is on the rise.
We went into political talk. We turned into NPR for a second, but hey,
Yeah, but it's all. I think
we're just flowing through it, feeling it out.
Yeah, but it's like, I feel like every time I get into a political thing with anybody on the channel, it actually is pretty fair and nuanced, because I don't think anybody on our team is like super dug in on like one like side or the other. Like everybody seems just like well reasoned, which, by the way, newsflash, most people are, guys. It's not what you see on Twitter. Most people are actually just pretty reasonable about this stuff.
Fucking reason. And even the people I have found that have like strong opinions online, just from my experience on like my YouTube channel with people who will be like, if I'm like, they're like, if you really talk to someone, 99% of people, maybe not that much, 95% of people are pretty reasonable and are willing to hear someone else if you approach them like a person. If you don't just come at them like you're an idiot and here's why. If you're like, why do you feel that way, bro?
And you can actually sense it too in the combo. It's actually nonverbal. All the indications that put someone on the defensive, or all the indications of a person coming in super hot, are actually nonverbal. It's not even what they're saying, it's like how they're saying it, so yeah, that's good stuff. I'm always happy to try to give a good example with that.
I love this channel. I love this community. Like I said, I'm a fan. I'm out here watching the streams. I listen to them while I work. Man.
I love this community for sure. I can't really stand watching myself all that much, so I don't watch a lot of my stuff as much anymore. But
well, I'm not watching like my own face and like my own YouTube.
No, that's what I mean though. Like most of the morning content is me. So
well, you don't have to watch it because it's like your face.
True. I know
it's like different.
But sometimes I get so. I don't know, like sometimes I get so charged up and I'm so in the performance that I'll get off a stream and be like, what did I just fucking say?
I black out sometimes. I definitely black out. Because there is a performative element to this stuff. So sometimes when I'm just like a high energy, I just black out. I definitely rewatch streams and like my YouTube videos sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I do too, just for critique and stuff. You want to know,
Like, how did I come off? And you're like,
correct. I used to do it a lot more. I feel like maybe I'm just a little bit more confident in sort of my performance or my presence or whatever. But back in the day, especially you grow a lot. You know what I mean? You grow a lot. But I will say that streaming almost every day in 2020 was like a leapfrog of my performative talents in camera. Do you know what I mean?
It was like wild.
It was wild.
Actually wild going live every single day.
It was crazy. Like pretty much, I think that if you added up all the days we missed in 2020, it was probably less than 30. Do you know what I mean? Of like literally days where I wasn't on a camera live. You know what I mean? And so please let's not focus on that because my mind will start to go crazy. But
no,
I will say.
I think, guys, you need to, hard pause, props where props due. I think it's hard to explain to people who actually have not done it. But like when you're on camera, you're hyper aware of like what you're saying, what you're thinking, how you're coming off. It's a weird vibe of yourself. And so to be live streaming every single day and fine tuning that is a lot. So props to you, Josh. Guys, this is an endeavor.
It was wild. Yes, it was quite wild. But I mean, honestly, I don't think I would have been able to do it if the community wasn't also reciprocating that energy back to me. Like it became a flow. So it's a flow back and forth. And frankly, there were a lot of those days that they helped me get through that days. I mean, we know what 2020 was like. That was wild. So there were days where all that helped me get through it was that 10 a.m. stream that I knew I had or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's a beautiful thing.
This has been a beautiful thing for me today. I have just had a fucking crazy week of being super overworked, and this has just been absolutely delightful. And actually, quick shout out, Dr. Random. I see you in this chat. He's like one of my OG #1 YouTube fans.
Wow.
And has been like riding with me for like, God, 6 years
That's
now,
fantastic.
I think.
Yeah.
Or 4 years. I don't know. How long have I even had my YouTube channel? Dr. Random, oh my God. Hey, bro.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Welcome, Dr. Random. We're happy to have you, man. Welcome. A couple that I missed here. Keeman Thompson. Sorry. Brandon says, much love to the team and Nerdvengers and happy to finally catch a live stream. Keep being true to yourselves. Appreciate that, Brandon. And Neyman says, I really think these things were cut and shifted due to the pandy, but the problem is Disney won't say it because it leads to this kind of speculation. I mean, that in and of itself is speculation, Neyman, but I could see where you're coming from with that. I can't help but feel a similar thought go off where I'm like, man, like they really don't like people talking about these cut storylines. What's up with that? You know what I mean?
And unfortunately, I just don't think we're going to get it from Disney.
No, we're not.
Plain and simple. Like if it comes to shit that didn't go well, you're not going to hear. You're not going to hear. Maybe you'll hear about it like years later,
like 20 years later. Yeah, exactly.
If an artist like breaks from Disney and they're done with it and they're like, now I'm gonna spec my truff. Like they'll have their YouTube apology video, but they're like, my time, and they'll cancel Disney.
Right. Niman says, remember we haven't seen a Marvel movie in 2 years. Ugh, that's a.
I mean, that's also a huge deal of it, which is also another weird thing that. Okay, that wasn't a real sentence. Which is also another thing that I don't like about these Marvel shows is because I feel like as the placeholders in between these MCU movies, they're not giving us the tea. They're not giving us the little nuggets that are going to keep us coming back, keep us going, right? It's like, I want the big reveal in the end credits. I just do. Like, you don't got to give away the whole kit and caboodle. Just give us a nugget that tells me what to expect. And it kind of bums me out because like it feels like now I'm a little worried for the Black Widow movie because I would have been so down for a one-off inconsequential Black Widow solo run that had literally nothing to do with the MCU pre-pandy, right? Like it would have been a lot of fun. And, I'll still like it. I'm not that obtuse where I can't appreciate it for what it is. Sure. But I don't think publicly it'll do as well if it doesn't have to do with the greater MCU storyline. Like, I think it will suffer for that, which is a bummer.
It is a bummer. Well, there's some, like, maybe Louise Dreyfus's character will make more sense. The Val character is apparently in Black Widow, and that's kind of interesting. But it's like weird because they flip flop the show, so they seemingly removed. Like this is another thing. Florence Pugh was definitely shot. For Falcon Winter Soldier. That was removed because of Black Widow. That actually makes total sense. You don't want to necessarily spoil that she's going to end up being Black Widow, right? Like, come on. Even though we all know that, it's fair to not spoil that for normies. So I can accept that, but I'm wondering, like, hey, did they just remove even more from the movie because they're still figuring stuff out? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's weird.
I'm just like, I feel really bad, honestly, just for like Scarlett Johansson.
Yep.
For all the time and all the work and commitment that she's put into the MCU. And she's finally getting her moment. Finally. A decade later. And I just I'm worried that it's not going to land.
Yeah, agreed.
Purely because of circumstance.
Circumstantial. Yep. The expectations and that 2-year drought. And it's weird timing. I mean, this film should have happened 5 years ago anyways. So,
right.
Yeah, it's kind of still on them ultimately, but
it's like if WandaVision had done good and Falcon and Winter Soldier had done good, we'd be having a different conversation right now. Because then like a one-off Black Widow movie would have been a shitload of fun. But it's like if it's just more like floppity flip-flops.
Yeah.
And then another placeholder.
Yeah, well, there could be an element to the sort of seeming, letdown or at least kind of, misinterpretation by fans or recalibration by fans. There could be something to that actually elevates the Black Widow movie because it might at least feel like Marvel again, and it might at least, bring
like back
that
to
action.
The core Avengers, like it's like finally getting back to the people that the big guns.
Correct.
Right.
So it's
I can see that
possible.
for sure.
Yeah, so it could go either way, but I definitely see the possibility that you discussed as well. Certainly that's on the table. I mean, frankly, that's a little bit of what happened with Wonder Woman 84. Wonder Woman 84, I think would have been received.
That was just a bad movie.
I didn't think it was a good movie, but I think it would have been received better had it come out in theaters at Christmas without a pandy and all this, you know what I mean? Like drought of content, you know, and people were like expecting it. Probably still would have been considered disappointing, but
I was so excited. I was so excited for that movie because, like, I loved the first Wonder Woman movie. I was like,
me too. Oh, it's so good. I
hitched my fucking flag onto the DC bandwagon, and I'm like, yes, Wonder Woman. Like, I'm here for it. And then
it's dope. It's really dope.
1984.
1984 was so bad. Anyway, Lord Vito says, Josh, do you know you've been wearing that same red plaid shirt for weeks now? We need a GoFundMe for Josh's attire. Love you. Vito, I barely know what day, time, and universe we're in, brother. So no, I don't know.
Hey, Josh likes plaid shirts. How dare
I love my plaid shirts. I love my plaid flannels. I love my flannels. I love my plaid flannels. I love my guns. I love my country.
How many plaid flannels do you have, and how many colors? Ready, go.
I've got a few. I actually,
Guys, do you think it's cute that we matched today? I always wear black t-shirts, but I wore a red t-shirt today, and Josh just happened to be wearing red as well.
Yes, how about that? How about that? Stop copying me. I wish I could copy you with a LaCroix because it sounds delicious.
Yeah. Well, all you have is like 7-gallon cups of iced coffee. Maybe you should introduce some water into your life.
You're absolutely right. Colt says, we need a live-action HBO Saga comic series. Yo.
Dude, I don't even know. I think I would want to see Saga animated series like Invincible.
Yes. Ooh, yeah.
Because that comic is weird. And I don't want, I'm sorry, Prince Robot live action?
Could be off-putting. Yeah, it could. I mean, you're right. That would be weird to handle.
I'm sorry, Goose? Like live act.
Yeah, you're right. I think it might be better for animation. And now I'm like campaigning for that shit. That sounds dope, dude. Yeah, that'd be incredible.
I mean, Daniel says, watching Prince Robot, like, because Prince Robot has like sex scenes.
Oh yeah, and he also has weird sex dream scenes,
like live action. Yeah, Prince Robot sex sequences in a live action thing. I don't know.
I'm sure they could pull it off, but it would have to be so hyper stylized that it would be.
You know, I have a Prince Robot Funko Pop signed by Brian K. Vaughan himself for winning 4th place in the Saga costume contest a few years ago.
That's sick.
Catch me in the books, bro.
That's awesome. That's sick. That is something I'm quite envious of. Daniel says, can't fight on the front lines in this simp war, but doing it responsibly. Love your takes on the talent treatment. Take my money. Thank you, Daniel. Every little bit helps. And look,
all simps welcome.
All simps welcome. And like, you gotta simp responsibly. And I hope even the simp lords are simping responsibly. Yeah. But I mean, I think like they all have like Egyptian oil moon money or something. Who knows?
Are my simp lords real life lords?
They might be real life lords. Like, that might be a thing.
I have sugar daddies?
Right? Pretty
somehow.
Much. Holy shit. Enrique Robles says, it's because you're an X-Men fan too, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Daryn, thoughts on Mortal Kombat, fine or bust? Did you check out Mortal Kombat?
I did not watch Mortal Kombat.
Okay. You should check it out. I liked it, but I'm
Do
surprised.
I need to, like, be familiar with the games?
No, but I think you would probably love. I'm actually really interested in what you would think not knowing the games because okay,
I'll watch it.
Yeah, here's kind of my interpretation is I think I've always been a surface level MK fan, and for me, like it felt cool. But I think the more hardcore you are into MK, I actually think the more you might not like the movie. Believe it or not.
So like an objective. Just coming in, zero knowledge.
I would love to know
guys, I've played 2 video games. If you're familiar with the stream, you know I've played 2 video games.
Yep.
I don't know much. I've avoided them my whole life. I started a few months ago, Assassin's Creed Skyrim. That's all I got.
Yep. You're going down the dark path. But yeah, no, I would love to know what you thought of it.
Yeah.
I just Enrique, you probably already know this, but I thought it was a 7 out of 10, pretty good. I just didn't have any expectations.
7 out of 10.
Yeah.
That's a pretty high rating for something that I would just view as like an emoji movie kind of thing.
Yeah, that's, I think, a fair point. It did a lot of fun things, and it set up a new interesting lore. And apparently it's incredibly popular. People are saying it's even more popular than Godzilla vs. Kong, which is crazy because that was a very popular film. So it's interesting. Matthew says, are you more hyped about the future of the MCU now or before Phase 1 came out? I'm still more hyped now. I just see all of the cool possibilities. I'm a little bit, look, I'm bummed about what we're getting, but I'm also so sure that the amazing stuff is still coming. I guess my worst case scenario fear is that like they're changing a lot, and that would make me nervous only because it's impossible to execute perfectly when you keep changing the goalpost. You know what I mean? Like that's just hard. So that would suck.
That Phase 1 hype though, guys, we were all there.
Yeah,
we were so young back then, but it was fucking sweet. Nothing like that had ever happened before. It was the most exciting time. I remember going to those theaters and like the Avengers movies were coming out. Well, what a rush, guys.
Yeah, it was really cool.
What year was that? 2012 when the first Avengers movies came out.
Yep.
So cute. So adorable. But now we're playing a different evolved ball game.
Yes.
And we've actually never had a studio house this well positioned, this high of a caliber, that ruled so heavily that has to pivot and get to watch their content. Like maybe Star Wars, I don't know. George Lucas was not very consistent in that realm. So like this is the first one that we've really had like consistently across the decade. So still hyped and still love to see it. Still want to see what they do.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting.
What they did in Phase 1 and what they're doing now, again, totally new avenues.
Totally different.
New territory.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
And we are really, really lucky to be a part of it. Just like we are lucky to be a part of it when like Game of Thrones first came out. Like there are some times that like you really feel are like cultural moments that tie the entire world together, where like the entire world is watching and the entire world knows what you're talking about. And it's so, and I'll always miss that about Game of Thrones. Honestly, I think like as shitty as the like last season was, what a fucking cultural
the zeitgeist was
connecting
so cool.
experience, right?
Everybody at your job, everybody
knew
setting.
what it was. And Marvel is like that too. Like if you talk anything Marvel, everybody knows what you're talking about, and it is just a genuine joy to be a part of.
I agree.
Let's get on the ride, guys.
Drafter says, support simping from bed after the second Moderna shot kicked my ass. Daryn, you gotta watch. I know, I'm hearing.
Actually, I was Pfizer.
I'm actually thinking about Johnson & Johnson just to try to get the one and done, and
get
also
those clots, bro.
Hey, look, I'm
the clots is a fallacy. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's such a rare thing. I think I will get
birth control has higher blood clot rates.
Yeah, no,
I've been on that shit for like my whole life. So
boom shakalaka. Yeah, you live dangerously.
Women are in danger every day. So
yeah, exactly. Well, I'm just gonna be the big old man pussy about it, and I'm gonna take the one and done. That's what I'm gonna do.
I'm fully vaccinated though, guys.
There you go. No, I definitely want to get there for sure. Says
the whole pandy, no COVID.
Dude, that's a blessing. Gotta watch season 7 or at least 4 episodes of Clone Wars before Bad Batch. Yeah, so Drafter also saying
I will watch it this weekend now. I have no choice. I will. Guys, and honestly, because I've been reading Darth Bane all week and I'm literally almost done with the book. I'm finishing it in like a week. The Star Wars fire has been lit underneath.
That's
because
great.
like I forget how fun, because Star Wars is so vast, sometimes I forget how the granular, someone that said in the chat earlier that granular was the word of the stream, and I must say it again.
Say it again.
Said it. The granular lore is so fun. Star Wars lore is so fun.
It is fun.
It's the best. And I missed it.
I love it. I miss it too. I want to get really hyped up for this Bad Batch show. It's an animated show, but there was 70-minute preview, and it's by Dave Filoni. And I know Dave is doing a lot of stuff for the live action universe, and so I'm really excited. Yeah, I'm pumped. I mean, we get 2 episodes next week. There's one.
Dave Filoni just makes me want I just want to give him stuff. You watch interviews of him, and you're like, I just want to give you like my jacket. Like you're just the most adorable.
Yeah, man, he's the best. He's the best. Love that guy. Felicity says, I think we're going to find out Bishy Amber's dad went out for cigarettes and never came back. Stay nerdy, my friends. Josh, tell Jenny we said hi. Yeah, it's not Jenny from the block, but right on, Felicity. Right on.
Give Amber more slack, right? Can you imagine being a teenage girl and like knowing your boyfriend had this big secret and all he did was just keep lying to you and treating you like an idiot? I'm like, standing you up. After a while, you'd be like, no thanks.
You.
Well, but then you want to give him a chance, right? That's the whole thing. He is a good guy, so she does want to give him a chance. But
plus, they're in high school. You know what I mean? She can't be perfectly nuanced about this thing. Yeah. She's a high school kid. You know what I mean?
They're like 16, bro.
Yeah. Mas says, my chat wasn't enough for Fenty. Sephora Avengers Unite. Okay. Yes. Okay. So this is from the book series that y'all.
I love that. There's like quite a few people in this stream who actually appreciate my makeup. Thank you guys. I see you and I love you.
Nice. Ross says both WandaVision and Falcon the Winter Soldier landed with thuds as finales. Spellman saying that Bucky is no longer Winter Soldier and he hopes we ignore end title is whack. No, I agree, man. There's some confusing stuff that's being said. It's just that I think frankly like where most of because I know there are people that don't agree with that in the community and that just love the shows, and that's totally fine. But I think the more critical people in the Nerdvengers community, it's like we're not even trying to be dicks about it. I mean, frankly, like we just want the shows to be better, and there's just weird stuff that's like I just don't. I just think I don't want to be that guy that just ignores all the obvious weird things that are happening. You know?
Well, I think it's just really. It helps guys to just sit back and try to be objective about it, right?
Yeah.
And even if objective is, I mean, I guess when you sit back from an objective stance and view like Falcon and the Winter Soldier and WandaVision, right? Comparing it to all the other Marvel projects, it just does not hold up. But then again, that's not completely objective either, right? Because then we're holding them at the standard of what we expect from the MCU. But from a purely critical standpoint, you have to consider what the MCU has done before, because to view this show as a standalone project is just kind of ridiculous. So you kind of do have to tie in the expectations that have seeded the origin story for what you're watching. And if that is just way better than what you're watching right now, it's like, how could you not?
Yeah, it's and the mixed messages are strange, and then there's stuff like Mackie finds out about Captain America 4 by some dude at the grocery store, and it's like, look, I just don't know how cool that is. Like now maybe like, and he kind of said in that interview, like he sort of downplayed it a little, where he was like, but that's why I love working at Marvel, because they'll call you up and be like, here's the plan and all that. But like, is that really what you're saying there? Because it kind of feels like that's fucked up. You know what I mean? Like basically like. Okay, and there were other interviews where he kind of implied that like there isn't a big like red carpet rollout or a big thing about him becoming Cap. You know what I mean? I don't know. There's just some things that I'm reading in, and I'm like, man, it's just
that was a weird. And I guess like it also could be true in the way that like he's tied in contractually for years, so whatever happens with him being Captain America is gonna happen. So like,
it's like, very possible.
It's gonna be a movie. It's gonna be a show. So he's like, haha, it's great. But it also is kind of like, why wouldn't you know?
Why wouldn't you know?
Wouldn't you know?
And then it's like they did the there's just a lot of weird feelings. They announced the Cap 4 thing on a Friday. The same day their finale is the lowest rated episode according to Rotten Tomatoes. That just rings as weird. And then it's like they come out and homie didn't even know about it. It's like, okay, so you're clearly forcing stories through. You know what I mean? Like you're trying to change the perception. You're trying to change the narrative. Why? That's what it feels like, you know? Matthew K says, what's the best battle scene? Battle of the Bastards, Endgame, or Helm's Deep? Any other nominations? I mean, I'll just say for me, it's Helm's Deep all day. Like, it's Helm's Deep all day. The Endgame scene is dope, but really it
feels so hard to put like Helm's Deep in there because it's like Lord Rings started it all in a way.
Yeah, that's true, but doesn't that kind of give it that merit of being that first crazy thing like that?
But it's also it was so long ago at the same time. So if you're talking like purely,
there's nostalgia there, yeah.
I gotta say, Battle of the Bastards, like I've rewatched that just alone. Like I've just rewatched the Battle of the Bastards by itself because, and also, but there's nostalgia and like allegiance to like Lord of the Rings never really connected with me super hard. Like I read all the books and I like the movie, but like I did read all the books and it never connected with me as hard as like Game of Thrones is like turns me into a psycho. Like I am psychotically obsessed with Game of Thrones. Like I actually had to stop reading it at one point. It was like, kind of like ruining my life. Like I wasn't sleeping. Like Game of Thrones is like the thing that like turns me into like a different person. So Battle of the Bastards was like.
I hear you. I mean, Battle of the Bastards is great. Miguel Sapochnik, I believe, is the director, and that dude is amazing. I mean, it's a great episode of television. Such an epic performance by John and by Ramses, and there's really a lot to love. I think for me, why I would pick Helm's Deep is because like
that's just like such a masterpiece, though.
It's a battle that is it's like, well, it's not just that it's a battle, it's that there's a story taking place as they're slowly losing. they're slowly losing, and it's like a siege battle thing that ends in one of the most epic, like on the third day look to the east, you know what I mean?
I feel like Helm's Deep is like a narrative cinematic masterpiece.
Yeah, exactly.
Where like Battle of the Bastards, I feel that shit in my bones.
Yeah,
like,
that's fair.
It's like a visceral.
I was just saying that. Yeah.
So I feel like it's hard to compare though, because it is like a visceral experience of you're like, I feel like I'm there. Like I'm in it.
And it's more fantastical. I mean, it is. Yeah. It's a fantasy story that's almost happening between all the characters, and it's really about Aragon.
Yeah.
Like watching Theoden like do the best he can, and it's like Aragon knows he should just take over.
It's like the crescendo of an orchestra.
Yeah, it's so deep.
Where Battle of the Bastards is like, I don't even know. Like it.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff.
And Endgame, obviously, guys. We also love Endgame, but it's like
Endgame's great.
It's great, guys, but it ain't no fucking Battle of the Bastards or Helm's Deep. Sorry,
it's not even super well choreographed. It's just a lot of fucking craziness happening. You know,
the Civil War battle is better than Endgame if we're gonna go there.
There's
like, if we're talking choreography and story.
The end of Infinity War is better than Endgame's battle.
Yeah,
Thor.
There's just a lot of people there.
Yeah, it's a lot to handle.
I guess if you're talking epicness, right? So I guess that's why it would be in
it's epic as fuck. I mean, it is. It's crazy epic. It's an incredible scene, and it fits perfectly for that movie. But
as we go in this chat, Josh will be Helm's Deep because, but I can't not say Helm's Deep. But I'm gonna say Battle of the Bastards only because that's my franchise, bro.
Dope.
So you know what? One for each, guys.
One for each. Darth
Even though it makes my skin sad to like say not Helm's Deep.
I kind of want to watch all of those battle scenes now.
That sounds actually really fun. I'm like thinking the exact same thing. I need to go watch Helm's Deep.
Right. Darth Moots says, Josh, you play the Avengers game, and if not, will you? Nah, man. Unfortunately, I had a bad taste in my mouth from a long time when I tried to talk to some devs about that game, and then all the red flags that I felt when I first talked to the devs, I was 100% right. It was treated as a whack-ass commercial product. There was not a lot of love there. So no, I'm not going to play that game. William Warrington says, did you get a chance to read X-Men God Loves, Man Kills? No, but I appreciate the reminder, and I will try to do it before next week. So yeah, apologies there, William. And did you by chance read it or no?
I'm trying to think. if you guys didn't realize, I'm literally reading 2 books at once this week. I read so much that sometimes I forget which is which. God Loves, Man Kills. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna say
don't.
no because I can't
Yeah.
recall off the top of my head, but I might.
I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna try to. I need to get back into comics in general. I'm actually trying to set up a pool list that I haven't done that since I moved, so maybe I'll pull that or grab that and trade.
I literally think I'm gonna watch all those battle scenes after this.
Yeah,
that sounds actually super fun.
Right. Elisa Scott with the $5 holla says, rated Chet's piggy bank to send my weekly simp money. A little Lady Avenger simp money.
Wait.
There you go.
You should do that.
Absolutely. Chet, fuck them. Colt Bardock says, from a Yinzer to you, Pittsburgh has been wild, LOL. And I have to say your live streams helped me through this pandy. Hey, thank you, Colt. Agreed, man. Agreed. It's all love. It's been very good on my end as well. Meister 420 says, am I the only one who really loved Falcon and the Winter Soldier? No, I think there's a lot of people that did. I really love Sam as Cap, really love the Bond and Bucky. Take my money. No, Meister, I don't think so, man. I know Mike Porter really loved the show. I know there's plenty of people that really love the show, and I think there's a lot more people like Daryn that end up liking the show and kind of just calibrated their expectations. There's not a lot of fanboys like me, probably. I mean, look, I have mixed feelings about it because on the one hand, it's like I'm trying to be fair. On the other hand, it's like, no, I have high expectations from a world-class brand, so it's like a hard thing for me to kind of balance. But no, you're definitely not alone.
Contradicting truths can exist at once.
Yes.
Things to say. It's like if you liked it, I'm so fucking happy for you. Honestly,
yes, I am.
And not even in a condescending way. It's like when people like things I don't like, I'm kind of jealous. I wish I saw what you saw, but I just don't. Like,
for sure, especially with like things that I really care about. Like I just think in general, I'm envious of people that really, really love the Star Wars sequel trilogy, because like I just wish I could get there because I really wanted to, and I hate how
all of them?
Just all of them. I mean,
I know, to me, guys. This will get me canceled. I like The Last Jedi.
Dude, I wish
I like The Last Jedi. Sorry.
I don't hate it the same way that other people do, but I've ultimately fall on the side of like, nah, it was a mistake. You know what I mean? Like I do ultimately fall on that side, but it's almost contextual because of everything that happened to Star Wars after
once the movie after it came out, I got real sad. I was like,
it just was weird. Like,
I thought I knew what was gonna happen.
And Disney didn't handle that well, in my opinion. The whole fallout of it and everything. So, Vader's Lair. Oh, is that Sheev? Sheev, you finally made your channel. You got that video up. We're gonna have to check it out. He says,
"Oh, Sheev the Wise made a channel."
Yes, he did. He did.
Good for you, bro.
He's gonna start doing that Star Wars content. So definitely gonna be checking that out.
He probably hates me now that I said that I like The Last Jedi. Sheev, don't leave.
No, Sheev, I think, likes the sequels, actually. So I think Sheev might be...
Whoa.
Yeah. Sheev might be... Yes. Well, it takes a certain amount of intelligent 200s. Oh! Here it comes. See? Here comes all the hate. Yes. So, let's see here. Daryn
That's what
and
I mean.
Josh.
Like, I watched you talk about that in another stream. Like, there are some things you like that other people just don't like at all. And sometimes when you just like something that other people don't like, or you don't like something that other people don't like, you're like, hey, bro, just let me have this. Like, I like it. Sorry.
Yep. And I think that that's totally fine and fair. And by the way, it does create some fun content, too. Like, sometimes nerds passionately disagreeing about stuff. It creates good content. And at the end of the day, I think none of us should take it all that seriously. You know what I mean? Like you should be able to extract your own enjoyment from this stuff, bereft of whatever. You know what I mean? Like really, like that's kind of how that works, I think. But all right, everybody, I think that's gonna do it for us tonight. Daryn, anything you want to plug? Anything you want to go? Or maybe are you gonna talk in the Discord as you watch these fights or something?
Oh my God!
Did I throw too much pressure on you?
Too much pressure. I do think I'm gonna watch the fights after this. Maybe I will chit chat in my Discord. You guys can also hop into the Daryn Stage Room Discord and the Nerdvenger Discord. I do hop in there a lot in there. If you ever want to find anything else that I do, it is just my name, Daryn Wood, DarynWood, my YouTube channel, my Patreon, do fun cosplays and vlogs and whatnot.
Yes, I actually have been recommended by Krim to definitely make it a point to watch your take on Mulan that you did with your friend. So I want to check that out. I really truly do.
Oh yeah, guys, watch that. I'm probably funnier than I usually am in that video because my best friends are there. So you guys know how that vibe is when your best friends are around.
Best friend vibe for sure. We'll get there, Daryn. We'll get there.
Yeah.
We just need to meet up at a con and physically fight. That's how I become really good friends.
That's how we like learn to respect to each other.
Yeah,
we just like finally fight. Like
exactly. Just like actually with lights. Wouldn't that be epic if we had for the first time meeting in real life and then we stage like not just like a little fuck boy shit.
I have some lightsaber TikToks I can send you that are pretty fun.
Dude, what if we got like wire work and like literally went hard? Like just like went hard.
Bitch, I would have a lightsaber fight with you any day.
That'd be fun.
I'd love
really
to see it.
Cool.
Larp,
All right.
larp, 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 larp.
Larp. We're larping. We be larping in here, Mike. We be larping. All right, everybody. That's gonna do it for us tonight.
Thank you for tuning in.
Absolutely. Make sure you guys come on back to Darren's Danger Room next week, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, we'll be talking about a lot of cool Star Wars stuff. The Star Wars Bad Batch first episode will have been out by then, so we'll talk about that. And
oh my god, I didn't even realize.
Yeah, it comes out Monday night. May the 4th is Tuesday.
Damn. Yep. Literally, what year is it? Okay.
Right.
I'm definitely watching those Clone Wars episodes now.
Yup.
So much stuff to do, so little time. Thank you, guys.
I know, right? Thank you all so much. Yep. And as I always say, I hope you were having an awesome and a nerdy day. And we will see you
nerdy day
in the next video.